And here we are, the first game of today. On the top side, as the blue Russians, we have XX Meramix, or Mirami XX. And on the bottom side, as the red British, we have House of the Trading Community. And I just realized something as well. Let me fix the scrolling issues, because it's going around pretty sensitively. So what's your opinion on this matchup?
Uh, Russia versus British can be a pretty interesting matchup. It all depends on how hard Russia goes in for the attack, I think. I mean, the one thing you definitely have to consider with the British side is they're going to have a constant flow of extra villagers coming in. So if Russia doesn't handle that very quickly, it can be pretty problematic for them later in the game to deal with them, since technically British does have the stronger infantry, Royal Guard, Redcoats, the Longbowmen are pretty solid, so if you let British actually get that eco advantage over you, it can be kind of hard, but if Russia can keep it going pretty early, it can go quite well for you.
Yep. Let's see, the British player has already selected a deck. Looks like standard British to me. Don't think anything too crazy. We do have Gentleman Pike, but that's not uncommon.
Yeah, that's quite common actually. I see it in just about any sort of deck that's serious about Industrial Age usually.
And for the Russian deck, he has both offensive and not offensive cards, because not uncommon for the Russians to, say, go to Age 2, Streletsy, and start Swarm early.
Has the Royal Decree there, which is pretty interesting.
Yep, I always forget. I don't really remember the Russian church cards myself. What do they bring in?
So you got a set of special upgrades, I think they're called the Servile Reforms or something like that. Basically, you pay all this wood, and it basically upgrades all your units to Veteran, and then there's a second one that gets all your units up to Guard, basically.
That game sounds quite nice.
And there's also one, I think, that replaces your Cab Archers with Counter Dragoons as well, which is one of the newer ones.
Oh yeah, Counter Jaegers, if I remember correctly. Which, if the British player goes for Longbowman, that could be a pretty good card to bring on in, or research.
Oh, most definitely. It's basically an anti-skirm. It has really strong multipliers against any such unit.
Yep.
So if you start putting those on the field, man, longbows will go down within 1 or 2 hits usually.
Yep, I don't know their stats off the top of my head. I'm familiar with the Italian counter-skirmisher, the Shiva Zone, or however you pronounce it. I can't pronounce
The
any name.
the, the Schiavone, basically.
Skivone. I would not have known to pronounce it like that. But that one is also the counter-skirmisher I'm very familiar with, but it is also only good against light infantry. It doesn't really provide good fire support against heavy infantry or anything else.
Приказ?
Yeah, well, that's an anti-skirm for you. Wars Liberty has the same concept, and I think they introduced that concept first before DE did it. And there, for the most part, if you're an anti-skirm, you mostly just have the multipliers against the skirms and nothing else,
Yep.
because that's a pretty big advantage to have.
Russians are aging up the quartermaster, and the British is going for the governor. And we do also have 13 villagers on wood for the British. I wonder if he's going to try a bit of a mana boon at the moment, or maybe he's just trying to get out enough wood for a barracks or 3.
Well, I think in this circumstance, you both have to be careful of the Russian pressure, but getting that villager advantage early on is probably going to be the best thing you can do against the Russians. With a bit of caution, of course. If you do it too much, you're going to be caught with your pants down by a bunch of unstoppable Streletsys in your base, but if you kind of balance it out a little bit, I mean, you're going to have a bit of a bigger flow of units than Russia does, and that's when they start to really have some problems.
Let's see, the British player is being defensive his initial governor outpost. And the Russians bringing some Cossacks, so maybe I'm just some harassment rather than assault. Oh, we have blockhouses.
Stable on the British side, I just saw that, so he's going Hussar.
Yep. which will be effective against the Streletsy, of course. Yeah, but
And
we do
even
have a
the
round of
crowd-
recruits.
Yeah. I do like that walling the British is doing, though. I've seen a lot of British players start to employ different walling techniques, and it kind of helps them deal with a lot of the early pressure that's, you know, you run into when you're going for a greedy strategy with the manners.
Yep. So this map, yeah, I suppose has a good wall there, and then put another wall here. Also another shoreline there, goal, or whatever it's called. Oh, Cossacks may find a villager here. Nope. Cossacks are trying to hunt around for another villager. Now gotta run Hussars. They should be able to force back these Cossacks.
Up. They are engaging now.
Yep, looks like Blue's just trying to run. He may want to separate these two from the other two so they don't get formation slowed down. Reached. But looks like he will escape on out of there. Or not.
Yep. No, and those two might get away. Yeah, it looks like they will.
Hear a bunch of gunfire. What am I hearing? Ah, looks like the recruits are getting the windmill.
Yeah, nice. Those are one of the better treasures, I think, because it's got such a good late game benefit to you to trickle some food.
Recruits are heading back home. They want to make sure they steer nearby the villagers so they don't get harassed. And they appear to be successful at that.
Yes.
Only one of the Hussars are significantly wounded. The other ones are healthy enough. But there's no... He's done a good job of pushing the various herds to his town center, so he's nice and safe.
Commandment?
It's like Sexy the Explorer did snipe one of the mill musketeers.
Milketeers, if you will.
Those. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still a little bit recovering a bit of a cold or something. Throat's a little bit sore.
Looks like British is going age 3 now. Who are they going with? Probably Mohawk, I would assume.
The adventurer.
Adventurer.
He wants to go on an adventure. Hussars making their way down south. We got the recruits now push way forward. And the British player has a handful of musketeers in the field. Here's a couple Cossacks. One of his villagers did get gunned down. 31 versus 26 villagers at the moment. And some of these villagers are migrating to this outpost up here.
Lucky thing he had that there, otherwise he'd be in a bit of a pickle.
Does get some bayonet stabs there, but overall he's chasing a little bit too much and getting gunned down. And militia have been deployed.
Using the town center fire to get some heavy damage on the Cossack is always nice.
Yep. Got more Streletsy and recruits being pulled in. Age 3 is on the way. He's going for the 6 musketeer shipment. He can't wait for a age 3 shipment. And a bit of a pause there.
Yes.
Try and get some wood chips there with the villagers. Try and get some eco going. And there's his longbone for the adventurer, which will be very useful at the moment. Round of musketeers also help as well. He immediately goes into melee mode. Some of the villagers did go down there. Of course, now he has the age up. He's at 29 villagers as opposed to 32, so he's slightly behind, but he can bring him some good stuff.
Что?
And he does have some hussars in the field, so the Streletsy will have a bit of trouble getting his work done. Longbow in a pretty good position there. The Russians now aging up with the Exile Prince, and we do got a shipment of Hussars here, as well as the Veteran Hussar research. Right, starting to fall back.
Ready.
And you know those Hussars, British Hussars, are actually quite wounded.
Wouldn't hurt to have a priest to heal him at this point.
Yep, but that would be corresponding out a monastery or church getting out a priest, and that's quite a bit of resources. Sure, he'll probably save some, but
Ready.
takes time, and sometimes you just need to push forward.
I mean, I guess the one good thing in this situation is if Russia overcommits to Unstoppable Streletsy, you don't have the Servar reforms in this deck, so it's not like you're going to get bamboozled by him at all.
Yep. Does gauge recruits when the Hussars do go down.
But yeah, that's the problem with Ruskets, of course. Technically, they counter the Hussars, but at a very weak rate.
Yep. But they are a veteran right now. Has he gotten the church research? Nope, he does not have the reformist Tsar. And does bring a shipment of falconets up, and I realize there's another round of Hussars here.
Nice clean raid there by British.
Yep.
Wanted to go for that artillery, but unfortunately got countered there, so I had to pull out.
Some of the Hussars are quite wounded, but overall they should have plenty of health to stick around. But even then, even though he's in the backside of the base, there's not any real raidable villagers. So I suppose these 4 or 5 over there could be raided. And musketeers, more of the villagers. Now the Russian is heading down south. It won't be for the winter. And looks like Red does claim back the windmill. This windmill can still be claimed, not really protected. And we got the House of Vaza claimed by blue here. Which can give the War Arquebus as well as some winged Hussars and some Torps. Now the Russian player could use those Torps right now. He's almost at pop cap.
Yeah, and sticking him on that nearby mine there wouldn't hurt either. Getting some extra coin and food along the way.
Yep, I'm just here curious that they're all tin. Both of the all tin mines, no gold or silver. Tin does have 500 less coin inside of it. More villagers, more recruits.
Ready.
And looks like some of these villagers could go down. Only gets a couple slices on one of them.
Commandment.
Got more Hussars over here. Try and torch down the artillery foundry. Can't get these villagers since they're too close to the blockhouse. Some of these Hussars are going to go down. Do have a pair of the Culverins, as well as a pair of the Falconets on the field. Explorer just trying to torch down the trading post, slowly but surely. I'll be disappointed.
I do like those Culverins because as soon as British pulls out their Falcons at that point, that's basically going to be a good snipe for him there. It should give him the artillery advantage.
Yep, and seeing how the Russian composition is basically entirely infantry, you need some counter artillery to protect the infantry. So the same could be said for the British player since he's mostly infantry as well.
Yes.
The Musketeer agreed with me. I'm not sure if you could hear on the Discord call of the audio.
I can hear you perfectly good.
Sorry, it was, I clicked on the Musketeer and said yes.
Oh, yes. Come on, a minute.
Sorry, whenever I reply back sometimes to units when they say something like, what do you think? And he just says yes. I click on one. Stupid things. The Explorer does go down. Two Falconets, two Culverins, got a handful of Strelets in the back, but mostly just recruits. Longbowman, does he have veteran Longbowman? No, he does not. He's going for his own Culverin. He has 52 villagers to 41 villagers.
Oh, good. That's
Great snipe there.
Yeah. Hopefully began the bombard mode in time. Gonna pursue that one because it's all isolated at this point. It should be a clean strike.
Red's Culverins have gone down. Falconets are in actually pretty good position. They're pretty far away from his opponent's Culverins, so he should be able to get some safe shots. And he's keeping the villagers here to draw some fire. Both good and bad thing, I would say.
Yeah, he really should get some upgrades on those longbows. You know, longbows are one of the secret counters to artillery that use them pretty effectively in numbers. You know, they get a really good range, and you can actually snipe falconets with them if you do it carefully, and you know you got other units in the mix.
Yep. So, honestly, the best archer before counting artillery is probably the Arrow Knight.
Yeah. If you ever played Marina before, one of the common things they'll do if you're British is just mass up a bunch of longbows, and not only can you wipe out infantry with them, you can actually snipe flying crows with them, flaming arrows, really anything you can get into range with, aided by Yeoman, of course, giving them the extra range.
I have not played Marina. Let's see, got a pair of Culverins there. And a couple round of Musketeers as well. Blue's starting to disintegrate a little bit. He's losing quite a bit. And looks like Blue went heading back out of the game. Oh, on to the next replay.